Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
All right, let's go. Huge Friday episode of The Lock Shop brought to you by Coolbet. If you have not yet signed up for an account, all the picks you're going to hear about here on The Lock Shop are available over at Coolbet. All you have to do is sign up for an account, use the code LOCKSHOP when you do. 100% deposit bonus on an initial deposit up to $200. Huss, I had a lot of fun diving into these games this week. I think there's a lot of cases you can make on both sides of both of these games. I can't wait. I'm very much looking forward to this episode.
Well, Sunday is going to be incredible, and you're totally right. I mean, both of these games are so tight. I think we can say the four best teams in the NFL are left
that's fair.
And going at it in these two games. And I mean, we've had neither game has been more than a 3-point spread at any point at any time this week. We've had basically no line movement in Philly and San Francisco. It's been 2.5 for the Eagles all week. And as we talked about yesterday, some wild line movement on this Kansas City Cincy game, which went from 1.5 Chiefs all the way to 2.5 Bengals, and now back to 1.5 Chiefs, as it seems like Patrick Mahomes is looking better than most people expected. So I don't think we could have two better matchups and two better games coming up on Sunday. I cannot wait.
It's going to be exciting. What's your trek going to be like heading down to KC?
Well, listen, all I can tell you is that I'll be at Arrowhead by 5:30 on Sunday. There are some Mother Nature seems to be conspiring to maybe make it a little more difficult to get there. But as I say, we will figure it out and look for a tailgate video at some point Sunday afternoon before we get going.
All right, let's bring in Pat Gregoire, who, of course, is with Coolbet. He's on the lacrosse beat this weekend, too. I think he's out east. He joins us right now. Patty, how are you, buddy?
Doing well, fellas. I've got my bowl of seafood chowder. I'm in Halifax. You gotta eat the seafood, the choice of the locals. Unfortunately, I'm on the call tonight, so I have to trade in a nice tea.
You're working
for a Keith's, but hey, it is what it is. You can assure once we're off the clock, I'll be having some Keith's tonight and getting ready for this big weekend. I know I'm still devastated about the Bills losing, but now I have no rooting interest. I can just unload the clip on some bets, some exclusives which we have coming. But Huss, I hate to say it, I think I've said it on the show. I've been sitting on a Cincinnati Bengals Super Bowl future at 11-1 for a couple of months now. So, of course, I'm not going to cheer against your boys. But if that does happen, I'm not going to be upset if the Bengals make it to the big dance here.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that you bring up that future, because that when we get into the NFC game, that is something that is weighing heavily on me, is my Niners NFC future, which basically is going to come down to this game. In a lot of ways, I've got a big bet already that was made at the beginning of the season on the visitors in this game. And I, like you, I still can't believe this. I must have gotten the best line, because I've got a Coolbet ticket, Chiefs 11-1 to win the Super Bowl. And that was, I mean, they were like 8 or 9 most of the time preseason. So maybe got in there, but yes, the surrounding these games are some pretty big implications on a lot of tickets that people have been making throughout the season, in addition to everything that they're going to be laying on in these individual games.
Have we got an update on Limpgate yet? Like, I don't think I've ever seen so much psychoanalyzation of a person and how they're walking and what their gait is like. And is that a limp or is that a strut? Oh, he didn't fully put his foot down coming down from the podium after his press conference. It is insane. But hey, I understand. I get it. We talked about it last week. When Mahomes is making his magic, it's, yeah, sure, he is a great pocket passer. But when he really is making things done, it's when he's getting out of the pocket, changing the plane of his arm angle. And I don't know
if we're going to see that. He's great.
But he's so good. It's no one's better. But again, we talked about it. This line has already shifted. Chiefs are now the favorites. So this line is crazy, man.
I think it's going to be just a fascinating. I mean, Andy Reid has done it all, and he is one of the most brilliant offensive minds. And we'll get to this in the exclusive that I'll have going up. But I really think we might see a very different game plan from Kansas City than we're accustomed to seeing. And I think part of it is going to be because of Mahomes, and there he will be limited. I think it's foolish to think that he's just going to come out and be the Superman we normally see. But I also think the way that they attack this Bengals defense is going to be maybe a little different. I saw a really interesting bit with Dan Orlovsky earlier talking about how the tight ends of the Chiefs could in fact be the most important players, and not like Travis Kelce tight end catching passes, but blocking, big formations, running the football. And I'm going to be on a couple running props. We'll get to those in a minute. And then, to be honest, I think the defenses are going to decide this game. I mean, we really know how good Cincinnati is when they are rolling. And listen, the Chiefs played that earlier game this season almost exclusively in zone, and Joe Burrow ate them up. I think we're going to
ask the Buffalo Bills how their zone coverage went against Joe Burrow.
It doesn't work against Joe. Like,
no, and so this is going to be, there was so much talk and worry about the Cincinnati offensive line last week, and the Bills didn't penetrate it at all. The Chiefs are going to have to do that. I mean, Frank Clark and Chris Jones need to be the difference makers that they are. They need to get in, and they like the Chiefs are a team that often spend a lot of time blitzing. I have a feeling that Spags might have to dial it off a little bit.
You have to.
Their big guys up front win those one-on-one and sometimes one-on-two battles and limit it. I mean, Burrow's not a guy that routinely throws for 300 yards. I mean, when he needs to, he can. But, when you consider what the weather's going to be like, it's going to be cold. It could potentially be windy. I really think this game is going to be one in the trenches. And some guys that we don't normally associate with the Bengals and Chiefs will be spending a lot more time talking about them, because that is, especially come playoff football, often where games are won and lost.
100%.
if you want to see Huss's head explode, refer to Arrowhead as Burrowhead.
Come on. That's slander. Slander.
What's your favorite bet? Like, what are you looking at here, Patty? What are you on this weekend?
So in terms of the spread or the totals, I honestly, I said it last week, or I think it was at the start of this week. I think I'm just going to wait as close as possible to get this thing. But one thing that I've already locked in, one of the few things I should say, one of the things I've locked in is a 6-point teaser. Bengals +8, San Fran +9. I think both these games are going to be super close. I really do. I don't see one of these teams running away with it. I know San Francisco's offense last week with Purdy was really concerning, but for me, I don't know. I don't see the Eagles blowing out the 49ers. The 49ers just don't get blown out. That defense is far too good. And again, the Eagles, and I know Eagles fans hate hearing this, but this has been one of the easiest schedules and one of the easiest routes to an NFC championship that we've seen in years. And I'm not saying they're going to lose and the 49ers are going to walk all over them. No, it's going to be a close game. But they really haven't been challenged all that much this year. I think this could be the toughest challenge that offense has seen all year with the 49ers defense.
I don't think there's any doubt that it is. That being said, that you basically said everything that I said last week going into the Giants game, and we saw what happened to the Giants. I mean, they got absolutely massacred. And Jalen Hurts, much like Mahomes, there was a lot of, the doubt was, hey, how healthy he's going to be. The second he hit that 55-yarder or whatever it was to Devonta Smith on that first drive, I knew that those Giants tickets were in trouble. And man, they were just like a locomotive. That being said, I don't think there's any chance they get to that sort of a start or get that far out ahead of the 49ers, because I think the Niners defense will keep them in the game. I am interested, though, to see what happens with Brock Purdy. I mean, Purdy's been awesome. He's done what they've needed him to do to get wins, but I think they're going to need more from the quarterback position against a team like the Philadelphia Eagles if you want to beat them in the link for a trip to Phoenix.
There's no doubt about that, and I think this is where Kyle Shanahan kind of earns his pay. I think he's going to have to, scheme his ass off and really put Purdy in a situation that allows him to be successful. I mean, we know he has the targets. Look at that offense. Like that's the reason why Mr. Irrelevant has been able to come into this situation and perform. I felt like the play calling was a little bit weird last game against the Cowboys, a little more conservative than what we normally see. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see them open up the playbook a little more. But I don't know. I hate teasers. I really do, despite me always riding JD Bunkus' teaser every single friggin' week. But with these these 4 teams and how close they are, I just think we see two games within a touchdown. I really, really do.
I'll have some teasers in play this week too, man. Yeah, no, I will as well. With the way these 2 games set up, definitely. We know it's a work day for you, buddy. We'll let you go. It looks like, what are you at, a pub? Where are you at right now? Is anybody saying, oh, I think that's Patty doing lock shop in the corner over there. This is great.
I'm at the Marriott Harborfront Riverstone restaurant, and it is. I know you might be thinking, why are you eating chowder at a hotel restaurant? I'm telling you, this is world renowned. It is the best chowder in the city, ranked, like literally ranked. Everyone comes here. There's business meetings going all over the place. But yeah, it is unreal. The Thunderbirds play the 6-0 Rochester Nighthawks coming up tonight. That one's on tsn.ca. Not giving out a pick for that one, but I will say, if you go over to the exclusive tabs, there are a ton of different NLL exclusives that are available right now. The one that I really, really like, it is for this game. It's padding his Stotts. The player is Randy Stotts, over 6.5 points. And I know I said I wasn't making a pick, but Thunderbirds to win, you get plus 260 at that. I just like it.
I'm not making a pick, but here's a pick I really like. It's in your blood, man. It's in your blood. Have a good call tonight. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Pat.
There you go. That's Pat Gregoire from Coolbet. Good way to start breaking down our games for the weekend. We've got some people chiming in on YouTube. We got people chiming in on the Twitter feed as well, Huss, as everybody gets ready for a huge weekend here for the Lock Shop, for Coolbet, of course, down in the National Football League. Now, our picks last week, we're going to do the same thing we did last week, because last week we did not tell each other what we were going to be up to. So we'll do it again. We'll kind of put in our picks here. And so we're going to do our official picks. We'll give you some places that we're leaning on the totals. And then I basically did a couple of bet builders that the boys have given me a boost and made into exclusives. So we'll have a few of those here we'll lay out as well. So I know, Huss, you got one for that Bengals-Chiefs game. So, let's start with the Eagles and Niners, Huss. I think we're probably going to be going head-to-head on that Chiefs-Bengals game, but what are we doing on this game? What do we got in this game?
Well, listen, I mean, you know me. I've been riding the Niners for the last 2 months.
You have.
And I've got the Niners on win the NFC future. So I've got a lot wrapped up in the San Francisco 49ers. But I'll be honest, the Philadelphia Eagles looked so good last week that I have a hard time wrapping my head around them losing at home. That being said, I've been talking for the last 2 months that the Niners are the team to beat. The Niners are the team in the NFC. I think part of that was that I just wasn't giving Philadelphia enough credit for what they've done this year. And part of it has been the schedule. You can only play the teams that are in front of you. Bottom line is they went in and absolutely manhandled the New York
Giants. Thank you so much.
You know, as we talked about with Pat, there's definitely going to be an element for the Eagles that they're moving up a weight class, especially with that San Francisco defense. But, man, the versatility of that offense. I can't stand Nick Sirianni. I think he's got maybe the most punchable face of all NFL coaches. But I got to give him credit for what he's done right now with this club. So I am absolutely cheering for the 49ers. I want the Niners to win. I think Kyle Shanahan absolutely has the ability to scheme his way in. But I think for the purposes of just a straight up pick on this, if you said, where would I go betting the spread on this game? I think I got to take the Philadelphia Eagles at home.
Well, I sat here all week saying, what am I going to do? Because I'm on Philly too. But I sat here all week going, what if this gets to 3? If this gets to 3, do I change my tone on this? And I dove into this game quite a bit this week. And there's just, first of all, Jalen Hurts is playing. I know he might not be 100%. They're 14-1 with Jalen Hurts. I mean, 2 of their 3 losses this year with Gardner Minshew. They've been basically unbeatable with Jalen Hurts. Now, I know the Niners have also been unbeatable with Purdy since he's taken over. But the Niners I think we laid it out in an earlier episode. I mean, they haven't had to go east since Purdy took over. I mean, they're basically just playing on the West Coast for the last 3 months. He has to go out as a rookie quarterback into the link in Philly against one of the most hostile crowds in the National Football League, and against a defense that has the best passing defense in the entire NFL. Like, that is a lot to ask of a rookie quarterback who's already a phenomenal story. Just getting to this game is a phenomenal story for Purdy. I'm not sure he has it in him to have a half of football where you're like, holy smokes, Purdy's going to carry this team to a win. And against a pass defense like the Eagles, I feel like you may have to do that. Now, Niners fans will say, that's okay, we're going to run the ball down their throat. However, since week 11, the Eagles' defense against the run has been a top 10 defense as well. So you've got these two defenses that are set to go to battle. We saw what happened to the Niners offense last week against a good Cowboys defense. Nothing to write home about. And then you've got the Niners defense against an Eagles team that loves to run the ball. And I think they'll slow them down in that aspect. But I do think the Eagles defense is susceptible to some deep shots and moving the ball through the air. And when you got A.J. Brown and you got Devontae Smith, I think Jalen Hurts is going to be able to take advantage of that. If they can establish any sort of attack on the ground, I think it's going to open up enough to get that done. The Eagles at home this year have won by an average of 10 points per game. Their point differential at home here is plus 10, I think. They're 10.4 or something like that. And on the road this year, the Niners are 5-3 on the road, which isn't bad. You're not going to, nothing to sneeze at. But they have one win against a playoff team on the road this year. And that playoff team was the Seahawks, who are like a borderline playoff team. So it's not like they've gone on the road and beat a bunch of good teams this year. And they're going to be playing a pretty darn good Philadelphia team here. So I like the under. I think this is going to be a little bit of a lowest scoring game just because we laid out the two defenses and a rookie quarterback on the road in a tough spot. But I do like the Eagles here, -2.5. And I would say probably heading into the games last week, if you would have told me it was Philly and San Fran, I probably would have been on the Niners minus the number. But the way the Cowboys defense managed to play against them and the fact that Philly's offense does look really good. Like Philly's offense, I still think should be able to get 20 to 23, 24 points. I don't think the Niners can do that. So I could see Philly winning this game like 20-13, 21-14 type, 21-17, like something along those lines. So I have more faith, and I think the biggest difference here would be Philly's ability to attack the secondary of the Niners in the air.
Yeah. For me, I agree with everything that you've said. Their secondary has been iffy at times. And here's the thing, even if they're not running all over the 49ers, which I don't expect them to, I think that the 49ers from a defensive standpoint are just going to have to account for Jalen Hurts so much on the ground. Like whether they're spying him, whether they're maybe having their ends come in and almost don't commit to the quarterback, but just make sure, force him to beat you with his arm as opposed to his feet. But when you're doing that, then that does leave you somewhat susceptible to some of those big plays. And just one more thing on San Francisco. We talked about Kyle Shanahan. We know McCaffrey's going to play. We'll see how much they're actually able to run the football, but he has to be involved from a play action standpoint. I think that's the key to getting George Kittle the ball. Kittle's been on fire as of late, and I know that he can be a big difference maker. And to me, how do they get the ball into Deebo Samuel's hands? Because Deebo might be the playmaker in this entire matchup, but you can't make things happen if you don't have the football. And Philadelphia is going to be scheming to minimize Deebo. It should be an awesome game. I think I'm with you as well, leaning on the under on this one. We'll take Philly. And as I said, I very much hope I am wrong. This isn't going to be a big play on this game. The big play was made preseason on the Niners to win the NFC. So that's where I'll be at.
One more thing to add to the Eagles defense that I don't think is viewed the same way as the Niners defense is, but I think that's because the Eagles offense is so good too. Like they don't have to rely on their defense, but they have a very good defense. They also have the best pass rush in the NFL. I think they ended up like 4.5 sacks per game or something this year, which is among the all-time best. And now you're going to throw that in there. You've got an excellent secondary, plus the best pass rush in league, going up against a rookie quarterback on the road in the NFC Championship game. That's a lot to ask of Purdy. So that's another reason you can toss my support behind the Eagles here.
Just as an aside, if Purdy has a monster game and they win, beating a team,
that'd be
beating
amazing.
a team like the Eagles at the Link, I mean, we're going to be all Super Bowl week is going to be like, this is the second coming of Tom Brady. Here we go. And listen, I'm here for it. I hope it happens. But the main event, Dusty, 5:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, Arrowhead Stadium. And why don't you lay out your side of this first? Because I think I know where you're at.
Yeah, I'll throw it out there right now. This is what happens when you're producing and co-hosting, getting these graphics up. I'm on Cincinnati here, -1.5. It's a tough one. This is a tough call to me. But Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, it's funny if you look back at both these teams, because I'm sitting there going, man, Bengals haven't lost in forever. They've won 10 in a row, more than that. The Chiefs are 9-1 in their last 10. And their only loss was to the Cincinnati Bengals. Neither of these teams have lost to anybody since early November. I mean, they've both been playing extremely well. The fact that Joe Burrow, for somebody coming in to Arrowhead, I mean, you're coming into Arrowhead, you're going up against Mahomes, you're playing against the Chiefs. This guy's already done it. I think that's huge that he's already gone in. He's already beat them. He should have, if anybody, there's one quarterback in this entire league at this point that should have confidence that they can go out and beat Patrick Mahomes, even healthy. And that's this guy. That's Joe Burrow. And I think he comes into the game, and I don't want to throw shade towards, the receiving core and the Jujus and things, but Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd in the slot I like against this Kansas City defense. He started to involve his running back. And on top of all of it, as important as Joe Burrow will be in this game, and I've got him in one of my parlays a little bit later on for some stuff, I honestly think they'll be able to pound the ball with Joe Mixon against this Kansas City Chiefs defense. I saw something. I think Kansas City this year faced 2 top 10 ground attacks, and that week they were 30th in defense against the run. I think the Bengals, the key to this game might be Joe Mixon running the ball against the Kansas City Chiefs, which is kind of what you sort of said earlier with the Chiefs running the ball. We're going to spend all this time talking about Burrow and Mahomes, but I think a lot of this might come to the play callers and how to establish the game on the run. I also think that I like Cincinnati's defense better than Kansas City's defense. So when you mix in that aspect of it as well, he's 3-0 against the Chiefs. And hey, is it difficult to beat a team 4 times in a row? It is. But if anybody's going to do it, I think it's this guy. So I'm going to be on the Bengals here. Not -1.5, +1.5 obviously is where that line has moved back to. I think this is a 3-point game one way or the other. So I guess maybe I should just take Cincinnati money line. That's probably what I'm going to get on.
This is a money line bet. This game is a money line bet.
That's what this is, right?
When the Chiefs were +1.5, and I think I said to you, I locked in on the money line at plus money at that point. I said, I don't want to be a part of a world where I win the bet, but the Chiefs lose by 1. I'm going to be getting in and riding with that team on it. Listen, you make a lot of great points. And Joe Burrow has become the guy in Cincinnati and, right there with Mahomes in the National Football League for the best quarterbacks. Their offense, from a weapons perspective, I think you're right. I think they do have a little bit more. Jamar Chase is one of the best in the game, and Higgins would be a number 1 on probably all but about 10 teams in the league as well.
Yeah.
The line, it all goes back to this. And listen, I think the Bills underperformed to such a great extent on the line of scrimmage in that game that I think in some ways people have sort of forgot the injury issues that the Bengals are, dealing with on the line of scrimmage. And I'll say this, you've got Frank Clark, who's going to be ready to go. We know what Chris Jones does. The pass rush of Karlaftis, who they picked in the first round last year. Trent McDuffie's going to be in this game, their first rounder as well from last year. He wasn't in that game a little earlier before, but the Kansas City Chiefs do have the personnel, I think that they can limit Joe Mixon on the ground. The big thing, though, and I kind of laid this out before when we were talking with Pat, it's that can they end up going into man coverage, maybe with a little bit of help from the secondary, and get to Joe Burrow, or at least force him to throw the football without sending extra players. And if the Chiefs can do that, I think they'll accomplish two things. One, Joe Burrow's going to need to be getting rid of the football very quickly, making quick decisions, which he does quite well. But again, you don't give them the time to get wide open and hit those big plays. The other side of it is that if they are able to stop or at least limit the run on a regular basis, you then have the opportunity where your guys can kind of put their flaps down, take a run at the quarterback, and have that confidence that, that the McDuffies, Watsons, Hill, that are going to be there around those guys. It's not an easy task, but I do think that the weather, the cold, the wind, I think all of that is going to actually play into the Chiefs' favor in that game. I would bet right now that neither of these two teams go for neither quarterback passes for 300 yards. I think this is going to be an under. I think it's going to be a ball control game. I think we're going to see plenty of long drives, which, by the way, is the Chiefs' specialty. Like, it wasn't before, but in the post Tyreek Hill,
did it with Henne last week.
Exactly. But the post Tyreek Hill Chiefs offense is way more patient, is way more time clock consuming. And, I think the Chiefs will have a bunch more first downs. You probably won't be getting those 40, 50-yard plays. And listen, I go back to the tight ends and why I think the running game is going to be so important for Kansas City and why you might see a bunch of different formations. And you certainly won't see Travis Kelce getting 14 catches like he did last week. It's because I think the Chiefs are going to challenge the Bengals on the line of scrimmage, will load up that way. And it's not a way we normally see the Kansas City Chiefs play or win football games, frankly, because they don't need to. But I think with the condition of Mahomes up in question, I think they have to establish dominance on the line of scrimmage. I think a big part of that is going to be the running game. And I got to tell you, I'm feeling pretty confident about this one. I love the fact that there's been a lot of trash talk from the Bengals side of things. I love the fact that everyone's seemingly on Cincinnati. Don't count out Andy Reid and do not count out Patrick Mahomes. And I'll tell you what, there's going to be 77,000 screaming maniacs, of which I will be one, with a home field advantage that hopefully actually does help them as opposed to these other games before. The team is as healthy as it's been all year, which is a big, big plus. That wasn't the case before. And let's not forget how close these games were. I mean,
they were close games. Yeah. It was a drop here. It was a missed field goal. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It was the Kelce fumble and the missed Butker field goal. That was the difference in that game before. And I don't know, Mecole Hardman's practicing as well. He was limited. He's the one guy that was limited. We might see him. But I think the guys that we're going to be talking about a lot are Jerick McKinnon and Isaiah Pacheco. And that was a big part of the exclusive that I set up for the Coolbet exclusives on the Chiefs side of things. Yeah, well,
let's get into that because I've got a couple of exclusives. And so we basically build them as bet builders. Just the first one I've got, it's already up. Built it as a bet builder. It was plus 425. They boosted it to plus 465 for me. So you can go build it as a bet builder if you want on your own, but just go to the exclusives page and find it. Hush, you mentioned, let's do our ones for this game here. I've got one for the other game as well, but what do you got? What's your exclusive for this one?
Yeah, here we go. So I'm obviously on the Chiefs side of things. I'm taking the Chiefs to win. I'm taking under 48.5 points in the game. I'm taking Jerick McKinnon over 24.5 rush yards and Isaiah Pacheco over 34.5 rush yards. I can't emphasize enough. I think the running game is going to be how the Chiefs, like how they attack this. And if they can do that, that opens up a lot more for Mahomes. But yeah, with the Chiefs, the under, McKinnon over 24.5, Pacheco over 34.5, also was plus 425 on the bet builder. So I have a feeling when it hits the exclusives, it'll be right in that neighborhood, a plus 465 for yours.
I've got one for this game, and as I mentioned, as you know, I'm on the Bengals. So I've got the Bengals to win. I've got Joe, because I still think if they get this done, it's going to involve Joe Burrow finishing things. So Bengals to win, Joe Burrow with 2 passing touchdowns or more, Joe Mixon over 44.5 rush yards, and Travis Kelce 7+ catches, which is only half of what he had to do last week. Like, you still go, wow, that's a big number. But he had 14 catches on 17 targets or something ridiculous last week. Even if they dial the game back a little bit, even if they want to slow it down, that's still a bunch of 6-yard passes to Travis Kelce. So Travis Kelce, 7+ catches, Mixon over 44.5 rushing yards. I said earlier that might end up being the key to this game for the Bengals. I do think when they get down inside the red zone and inside the 10, it is going to be Joe Burrow to Hayden Hurst, Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase, Samaje Perine out of the backfield or something like that, and then the Bengals on the money line to win. So that would be the one that I've got for that AFC championship game. I've got one for the NFC championship game too, and this one's already up.
What was the number on that?
That was plus 320. So maybe a boost up close to 4, but or at least plus 360 or something. So that one's plus 320. Bengals money line, Burrow 2+, Mixon over 44 and Kelce 7. The other one's pretty basic. It's just straight up Eagles money line with Devonta Smith having himself a game. So Eagles money line, Smith touchdown, and Smith over 60.5 yards. And that's it. And that's plus 465 after the boost. So if you have any faith at all in Devonta Smith, who's been arguably the hottest receiver in the entire NFL over the last little while. And we saw what CeeDee Lamb did against the Niners last. CeeDee had a great game. They didn't win that game, but CeeDee Lamb had a great game. He was over 100 yards, probably should have had a touchdown. So I like this one a lot. So Eagles money line, Devonta Smith over 60.5 yards. He's averaging 61 in his line. This number's been moved down because this is at 67.5. If you just want to go bet it, I moved it from 67.5 down to 60 for this exclusive, and then a touchdown as well at plus 465.
That's an interesting one. Smith is, you see him and, back when he was with Alabama, I mean, he was just this tiny little guy.
Skinny little
I wasn't
kid.
sure if he was going to actually be able to hack it in the NFL. Man, it seems like the bigger the game, the bigger performance he has right now. And he is definitely going to be an issue for that 49ers secondary. And I'll say this, I think the amount of attention, as we've talked about, that they're going to need to pay to Miles Sanders and especially Jalen Hurts out of the backfield, there's going to be some opportunities, and we'll see if they hit. Speaking of which, just before we wrap, the Hurts rushing prop.
Yeah, what's that?
47.5. And the over is plus 105, and the under is minus 127. As I say, I think that is going to be a huge priority early on for the Niners to spy him, to be able to get into the backfield, to prevent any big runs on him. Because I'll tell you what, if he starts running on the Niners the way he did against the Giants, it's pretty much game over, because that just allows so many other things to happen in that Philadelphia offense. And he really is the catalyst for it right now. McCaffrey, 57.5. And I know there's an issue. He was limited in practice. He says 100%.
I think he missed practice a couple times, right?
Yep, he did. Yeah. He's held out, but he said he's playing. Yeah. That being said, it is interesting. The under 57.5 is at minus 116 right now. I probably lean on a few of these unders on the props, to be honest with you. But as I said, it's all there for you. Make your bet builders. We've got pretty much all the props up right now. TD scores. It's all there. But I'm focusing in on the bottom line in this game, the money line. Who is going to win? Who are we going to see? Who are we going to be talking about next week in the lock shop playing for the Lombardi?
Can't wait. We got a bunch of time to preview the Super Bowl. Huss, safe travels down to the game. I'll be watching with a few of my buddies down south in Lethbridge. We're going to head down there. We got 6 or 7 of us setting up shop down there for the day, so that should be pretty fun as well. And we won't have an episode on Monday. Huss is traveling back on Monday. I've got some meetings down there on Monday, but we got lots of time to set up the Super Bowl, obviously, moving forward. And we'll have a bunch of Super Bowl episodes as well. Huss, from a betting perspective, I hope the Bengals get it done, but from being your buddy, I do hope you have a good time down there, man. It would be great for you if the Chiefs managed to get it done.
It would be,
or win by 1. Let the Chiefs win by 1. I'll take that.
Yeah, sure. You know what? Perfect. Let's go. I'm on the money line. You get the plus 1.5. Done deal. shake on it. Let's just skip right to 5:30 on Sunday. Listen, it's going to be a great day, folks. Wherever you're watching, enjoy it. And we'll be back next week. I guess we will have some hockey games early on in the week. I'm sure we'll get
early
back
in the week
later on Thursday, Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, we're hoping to bang out a Tuesday late afternoon episode if we can. So, yeah.
And don't forget, folks, Royal Rumble odds are up. You can check yesterday's lock shop if you want for some picks and leans on the Royal Rumble. And they were getting some more kind of neat matchups that we didn't have yesterday. Best finishing position between two of your favorite wrestlers. So it's all there. Yes, the one day that the sports betting world comes to sports entertainment. That's Saturday night. Enjoy it. Should be great.